You ever feel like the walls are closing in, but you're the only one who hears the creaking? Everyone's smiling, clapping, pretending it's all going just fine. Meanwhile, you're choking on the air they say is safe to breathe. Funny thing is, sometimes the cage ain't made of iron. It's made of comfort, familiar routines, fake smiles, and applause that only comes when you shrink yourself to fit their mold. But what happens when something bigger walks in? Not noise, not chaos, power. Real power. The kind that doesn't scream, it whispers. And the whole room goes silent. They always tell you, be grateful for what you have. Smile, nod, fit in. Don't rattle the cage. But what they don't say out loud, what they whisper behind your back is this: don't outgrow it. Don't outshine it. Don't dream too loud. Because the moment you start thinking bigger, the moment you start reaching higher, that same place that once clapped for you suddenly wants you quiet. Small, manage. It's funny, isn't it? The applause turns into silence the moment you stop playing their game. You see, the place you've outgrown doesn't want you to notice you've outgrown it. It wraps itself in familiarity, in routines, in praise that feels more like sedatives. You're doing great. Why change now? Don't fix what isn't broken. But if you listen closely, really closely, the cracks start whispering. The walls creak, not from age, but from pressure. Pressure of something inside, pushing, swelling, knowing it was never meant to stay boxed in with wallpaper dreams and ceiling-sized ambitions. It starts small. You feel it, a thought, a gut punch of realization. This can't be it. You laugh to yourself at first, try to shake it off. Don't be ungrateful, they'll say. But then the silence gets louder. You walk through the same halls, talk to the same faces, hear the same conversations echo on repeat, and everything feels thinner. Like you're in a stage play and everyone else still thinks the script matters. That you've seen the backstage now. You know the sets are hollow, the smiles are painted, the spotlight doesn't shine, it burns. They liked you better when you didn't know, when you still believed the hype, when you still bowed before their version of success. But then something inside you started asking real questions. Questions that don't have tidy answers. Questions that make people uncomfortable. And when you ask too many of those, suddenly you're a problem, a threat. The golden child becomes the cautionary tale. All because you dared to believe that maybe, just maybe, there was more. The sickest part? They'll guilt you for growing. They'll throw your old self at you like a weapon. You used to be so humble. You used to be so easy to work with. No, you used to be easier to control. There's a difference. They don't want your wings clipped. They want them hidden. Wrapped under nice clothes, polite smiles, and words that don't scare them. Because if you fly, they have to admit they chose to stay crawl. It's not hate, it's fear. Fear that your flight will make their comfort look like chains, that your evolution will call out their stagnation, so they smile while they suffocate you, hug you while they hold you back, all in the name of keeping you grounded. But you weren't born to crawl. You weren't built to repeat. You outgrew the version of you they liked best, the quiet one. But they won't say it's fear. Oh no, they'll dress it up real nice. Call it loyalty, tradition, doing things the right way. But what's the right way for someone who was never meant to follow the lines? What's loyalty when the thing you're loyal to is built to keep you average? They'll make you feel like leaving is betrayal, like wanting more is selfish, like growing is arrogant. But what's arrogance compared to the lie of pretending to be less than you are just to keep the peace? It's a beautiful trap, isn't it? The place you once prayed for becomes the very thing you're afraid to leave, because they told you it was everything, the dream job, the perfect circle, the promised land. But what they didn't tell you is that promises expire. And sometimes what looks like loyalty is just fear in a tuxedo. You didn't change overnight. You evolved silently, slowly. And that place, it didn't evolve with you. It stayed the same, offered you the same menu, hoping your appetite for growth would die off. But it didn't. It got hungrier, louder, and now here you are, too big for the box, too loud for the silence, too aware for the illusion. And yet, they'll still look you in the eye and say, "Isn't this enough?" Not because they believe it is, but because they need you to believe it is. Because if you really go, you might just show them they could have left too. And nothing's more dangerous to a cage than the bird who makes freedom look good. Real power doesn't walk in with flashing lights and drum rolls. No parades, no golden trumpets. It just walks in, quietly, unbothered, undeniable. You know why? Because real power doesn't ask to be noticed. It makes the whole room nervous by simply existing. That kind of power, it doesn't need to speak loud. It doesn't need validation. It already knows what it is. And here's the twist. Real power sees what's hidden before anyone else dares to look. You've felt it. When someone walks into a room and suddenly everybody adjusts themselves, straightens their backs, picks up their masks, the air shifts. Not because someone told them to, but because something inside them whispers, "Careful." That's what true power does. It exposes not just the people around it, but the people trying to pretend they're something they're not. When a person with real power shows up, all the borrowed confidence, all the fake strength, all the staged status, it cracks. And behind those cracks, you start to see who's who. But here's the kicker. That kind of power, the real kind, the kind that can't be faked, it recognizes one thing better than anything else: hidden strength. The kind of strength no one claps for. The quiet kind. The type that survives rooms designed to break you. The kind of strength that had to learn how to smile while bleeding. It sees you, even when the world doesn't. especially when the world, because real power was you once. And when that force finds you, it doesn't ask what your resume looks like. It doesn't care how many followers you've got or who vouched for you or how well you play the game. Nah, it looks at your scars, your silence, your shadow. It says you've been through hell and you didn't fold. It sees the war in your eyes and smiles, because that's how it knows you're ready. You've been in rooms where no one saw you, rooms where they laughed too loud at the wrong jokes, rooms where the strongest thing about you was your ability to stay silent while your soul screamed and you survived them. You learned their games, you watched the politics, you played dumb, but you never stopped growing. You never stopped sharpening. You never stopped carrying a version of yourself no one else was ready for. That version is why the real ones see you. They won't say it out loud, they never do. They'll hint, they'll test, they'll pull strings just to see if you flinch, but deep down, they know you're not like the rest. And they know that when the time comes, you won't need a spotlight. You'll light the whole damn place up with your presence alone. That's why the fake ones panic, because they can sense the shift before it even happens. And they know that when the time comes, they know the hierarchy they built isn't built to survive someone like you. You're not loud because you don't need to be. You're not desperate because you already have the one thing they can't manufacture: substance. They wear power like a costume. You wear it like skin. And when a real one sees that, it's game over. The charade ends. The masks slip. Because what's hidden doesn't stay hidden forever. Not when it burns this bright. Not when it walks with purpose and pain in every step. And the most ironic part, the ones who tried to dim you, they knew it too. That's why they tried so hard. That's why they whispered, lied, laughed. Because people don't attack what they don't fear. They don't plot against what they don't envy. So the harder they tried to ignore you, the clearer the truth became. You weren't invisible. You were undeniable. Just too big for their shallow lenses to process. But now the ones who matter are starting to see it. The rooms are shifting. The conversations are different. You walk in and people listen differently. They lean in, trying to figure out what changed. They think it's your outfit, your tone, your connections, but it's none of that. It's the storm you carry in your chest, the one you stopped hiding, the one that never needed permission to rise. And those with real power, they don't flinch. They nod, 'cause they've seen this movie before. They've played this game, and they know exactly what's coming next. People love a performance, don't they? They eat it up. The glitter, the noise, the show. But what happens when someone steps off the stage and refuses to dance to their tune? Oh, then it's a problem. You see, when you don't play along, when you don't fit in their little script, They start fumbling. They can't stand it because you're supposed to be predictable, easy, moldable. They want you to laugh when they laugh, flinch when they threaten, bend when they lean. But you didn't get the memo, did you? You started asking questions. You stopped smiling at the wrong jokes. You looked them in the eye and didn't blink, and suddenly you became the threat, not because you raised your voice, but because you stopped lowering it. That's when the dirty tricks begin. Oh yes, the real fun. The manipulation failed, so now it's time for sabotage. Subtle at first, little jabs, innocent lies, whispered doubt. They'll dress it up like concern. I'm just worried about them, they'll say as they sharpen the blade behind their back. Because when someone refuses to be controlled, they have to be contained. And if they can't box you in, they'll try to burn the whole stage down with you on it. Not because you're wrong, but because you refuse to play the clown in their circus. You were supposed to fold. You were supposed to break. You were supposed to beg. But you didn't. You stood still while the storm howled. And they pant because people like you remind them of everything they're pretending to be. See, they spent their lives learning the rules, climbing ladders, shaking hands, faking smiles, and then you showed up. You didn't ask for permission, you didn't follow the script, and yet here you are, standing, breathing, unbothered. They can't understand it, so they turn to dirty tricks. They can't outthink you, so they'll try to outsmear you. They'll twist your words, pit people against you, rewrite your story while you're still living it. And the best part? They'll call it karma. They'll call it justice. They'll pretend they're saving others from you. But the truth is simpler than that. You were never dangerous until you became free. Free from their approval, their control, their narrative. You stopped needing to be liked, and they lost their grip. That's the most terrifying thing to people who build their empires on obedience. When someone stops being afraid, everything they've built starts to shake. That's when the shadows start moving. That's when the masks come off. That's when you see their real face, the one they never show in the light. They'll smile at you while loading the gun. They'll hug you while hiding the poison. And you'll see it. You'll see through the performance. Because once you've tasted truth, you can never go back to pretending. You become a problem they can't solve, a ghost they can't kill. And they hate that. Because deep down they know they need people like you. The ones who don't flinch, the ones who remember, the ones who rise again and again, no matter how dirty the tricks get. You're not bitter, you're awake, and there's a difference. You're not seeking revenge, you're exposing reality. And that makes people uncomfortable, because most can't handle the truth without a filter. But you don't need filters anymore. You don't need applause or validation. You've learned that being misunderstood by the wrong people is better than being loved for the wrong reasons. So let them talk, let them scheme, let them throw every trick in the book. Because while they're busy trying to destroy your name, you're busy building a life they'll never understand. Not out of spite, not out of pride, but out of purpose. Because when manipulation doesn't work and dirty tricks fall flat, all that's left is power. And real power doesn't beg to be seen. It simply walks forward while the world stands confused by the fact that you're still standing, still smiling, still breathing. And they'll ask themselves, how? But they'll never understand, because they've spent so long playing the game that they forget, and they haven't, and they haven't, and they haven't. To sit, to wait, that's the reveal that makes the game to you. You never needed their game in the first place. Number 4. The moment when the mask slips and suddenly everyone's acting like they didn't see it coming. The charm turns cold, the laughs dry up, and now you're standing there looking around, wondering how many of them were ever real to begin with. You know the look. It's that eerie calm right before the hit. The silence when the snake's about to strike, but still pretending to be your friend. They couldn't manipulate you, so now they're trying something darker. That's what makes it so beautiful. Because once they realize they can't own you, they'll try to ruin you. But here's the thing. You already know the playbook. They operate in patterns. Flattery, guilt, control. And when none of that sticks, they go digging. Digging for anything. A weakness, a secret, a past mistake. And if they can't find one, they'll make one up. It's not about truth, it's about perception. Whoever controls the story wins, right? At least that's what they believe. That's what weak minds cling to. Illusion. Smear the name, twist the facts, plant the seed of doubt and watch it grow. Poison disguised as concern, lies wrapped in whispers. And you're just watching, unshaken, because you've already died 1,000 times and come back laughing. You start noticing things when you're no longer blinded by needing approval. The sudden cold shoulders, the shift in tone, the way they repeat the same phrase, like it wasn't rehearsed 100 times. I'm just worried about them. They're not the same anymore. Oh, but you are the same. You're just not chained anymore. And freedom, it's threatening. Especially to those who've never tasted it. So they paint you as danger, unstable, problematic. Because to them, a person who won't bow must be broken. They start speaking for you. Isn't that rich? They try to narrate your life like it's theirs to edit. They cut scenes, add drama, remove truth. You become the villain in their little play because it justifies the dirt they throw. And the crowd loves a scandal. They don't need facts, they need a show. And if you're not giving them the story they want, someone else will. Suddenly, people you barely spoke to are experts on your intent. Strangers become juries. Opinions become weapons. But they don't realize They're still playing with wooden swords, while you've already been to war. They'll bait you, prod you, push you to explode, because nothing helps their narrative more than your anger. If they can't control you, they'll try to provoke you, get you to snap, then call you crazy, get you to cry, then call you weak. It's a twisted little dance, and they've been practicing for years. But what they don't expect is silence. That cold, sharp silence of someone who doesn't flinch anymore. You've seen too much, lost too much, grown too much. And their little games, they're no longer entertaining, just tired. See, the moment you stopped trying to prove your worth, you became a mirror. And people don't like what they see in mirrors. You remind them of the things they avoid, the truth they deny, the strength they lack. So they lash out, not because you did something wrong, but because you did something they couldn't. You walked away, you healed, you stopped answering to broken people. And now they can't reach you, so they try to drag you down, not to punish you, but to level the playing field. Because standing alone, that's terrifying to someone who's never stood without a crowd. They'll try to convince others that you've changed, that you've lost it. But what really happened is you woke up. And waking up in a world that thrives on sleepwalkers makes you the enemy. But you don't hate them. No. Hate requires too much energy. You see them. That's worse. You see through them. And that's unforgivable. Because the truth, it has no costume. It doesn't perform. It just is. And once you've lived in it, you can't unsee it. You become a different creature. One they can't label. One they can't box. One they can't predict. They'll keep trying, though. Oh yes. The stories will get louder. The accusations more absurd. But each lie reveals more about them than it does about you. Because the more they try to bury you, the more obvious it becomes that you were never the villain. They just needed one. They always smile when you're quiet, don't they? When you go along with the script, when your voice is small, when your hands stay folded in your lap like a good little nobody. Oh, how they love it. But the moment you start talking differently, moving differently, breathing differently, they flinch. You'd think you committed a crime. Not a real one, of course, but worse. You stopped apologizing for existing. You stopped shrinking. You stopped asking for permission to be whole. And suddenly, You don't even have to fight back. You just stop explaining yourself and the room gets colder. You stop nodding along to nonsense and people start wondering if you've lost your mind. But that's what happens when you're no longer the puppet. You cut the strings. You realize not every compliment is a gift, and not every smile is clean. Some people study you just to figure out how to break you. They watch like surgeons, but not to heal, to dissect. See where the cracks are. See what makes you tick. Not out of curiosity, no, out of fear. Because people fear what they can't control, and they loathe what they can't predict. They'll whisper. That's their favorite weapon, so much neater than confrontation. Too afraid to face you directly, so they tiptoe behind your back and plant little bombs, hoping someone else will deliver the explosion. It's a coward's ritual. Smile to your face, then throw you to the wolves with a hug. And if you call it out, they say you're paranoid, dramatic, overthinking it.